regular dudes? What?
Welcome back to Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. I am Jamie G, Esquire the Fifth, and unlike some Esquires, I can speak in a Chicago accent. Portillos. Once again, I'm here with Magna Mills and the Soup Deucer to talk about stuff that we've watched. Our feature review of this week it's a shout out to the late great Richard Lewis, because this week we are not dudes, we are men. Men in tights. Tights. Soup, how you doing? And did your mole used to be on the other side? I feel like that mole's moving.
I'm a mole? No, I mean, I'll look into that. But aside from that, yeah, I'm doing well, man. Doing well, hanging in there, I mean, I am the Soup of Deucer, and we are here to talk about Men in Tights. And looking forward to it, man.
He is a soup deucer, and he produces soup, and I am Magna Mills, and I just want to tell you now, you're going to have to face this before you do this episode. You got to be a man to wear tights. That being said, we are still just dudes, the dudes from Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. Thank you for checking us out. You can find us wherever you get your pods, on the webs, on the social media. Find us at Dudes Watch Stuff. Find us at dudeswatchstuff.com. Thank you for remembering all that. It's not that difficult, just like remembering the flaps. Follow, like, and please subscribe. It's all we ask. If you had fun, please remember, hit that thumb.
And we've got a few items to check off the list before we get to Sherwood Forest. Starting with some holes in this house. There's some holes in this house. Soup, what have you been filling those eyes and ear holes with recently?
Well, fortunately, over the past week, I had an entire day off, and I spent it watching TV, and it was fucking awesome, man. Nice and relaxing. So I got a couple of holes filled, in that time, man. And I'm gonna go ahead and start right away with Ricky Stenicki. Ricky Stenicki was a pretty cool movie, man. It's a comedy. It's got John Cena. Funny, dude. It's like on the level.
Amazon, or is it Hulu? I forget. Is it Amazon joint? I think it's an Amazon joint, maybe.
It's either on Prime or Hulu. It's one of the two. And I randomly was like, okay, I'll check this one out, man. And dude, it lived up to it, man. It's got some really hilarious moments in it. There was some laugh out loud, like legit,
Well,
situations.
the Farrelly brothers directed it, right? Like the something about Mary.
Peter Farrelly directed it. It wasn't both of them. It was just one of them. But he, it had that kind of feel, but it almost was more like I guess like maybe a Step Brothers or situation, not situation, but like that kind of vibe to it, But very, very funny. And I recommend giving it a look, man, because you'll probably at least laugh a few times, And there's some admirable hit in that one, man.
For what it's worth, Soup, John Cena has been aces, dude. I mean, big fan of what he did with Peacemaker on
Peacemaker,
but then
yeah.
The Cock Blocker that's still one of the funniest movies, dude. Like, it's so good. Like, John Cena has been aces, man. He's pretty much still like any comedy movie he does, I'm down.
Dude, he went on stage at the Oxers in the cocksock.
He did.
Yeah, I heard it, and it's kind of like a 90s premise, right? Like, what was it? Like, people invented like some imaginary dude who was responsible for all the shit they did, so then they had to like bring him in or whatever. It feels like a 90s premise, like something we'd like.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Without giving anything away, it's like it starts out when the main characters are kids, and they do something, they get in a little bit of trouble, and they blame it on this imaginary character that doesn't exist, or whatever, and then they just continue to do it their entire lives, and so they've always had like this friend that isn't there, and they end up, now they're older and married or whatever in adult life, they end up having to like produce this person, so they hire an actor to play the guy, the Rick Stenicki guy, their imaginary friend or whatever, and that's John Cena, and he just crushes it, dude. It's killer, man.
Nice. I'd like checking that one out.
A couple other holes filled. I didn't know if we were going around the table.
We'll go around that. We'll circle back around to that one. Jamie G, you got at least one good one for us tonight.
Well, I do. So I've got two, actually. One, I just wanted to give a shout out to Soup. I followed his recommendations last time Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. We did a joint and checked out Strays. And I gotta admit, man, it had a lot of good moments where I was laughing, but also like found myself like crying. Like it was just a great, like, I don't know, man. There's something about like, I don't know, just dogs and
Cute.
just
Yeah.
love and owners. It was very cute, but it was also funny and raunchy and rated R and super cool. So had all the range of emotion. So shout out Sue, good call on that one. But I do want to say, for those of you who've been watching Regular Dudes Watch Stuff, I have been on this, like, I've been airing my grievances about the TV show Fargo. And yes, I might do a Fargo accent on top of doing a Dr. Dicka. I can do a Fargo and up in Minnesota. But the thing here is, I don't like the fact that every episode starts off with "it's a true story" when it's not. Drives me bananas. But I committed. I'm in, and I just finished season 2. And season 1 was actually really good. Season 2 was kind of weird, but I didn't like hate it either. It kept me into it enough, and I'm kind of excited about season 3. So I think I'm going to keep it going. There's 5 total seasons. Each one is different, totally different storyline, totally different characters, totally different actors, actresses, etc. So that element of it is pretty cool. But I made it through season 2. It was odd. There's a weird UFO thing. I don't know that I don't know what that is.
That's
And
the
here's
weird.
what's
Yep,
crazy.
that's what I was waiting for. That is the weird part of season 2 of Fargo, and they never really
Dude,
given that support definitively.
you
Spoiler alert.
don't. But here's the crazy thing. The only element of season 2 Fargo that is based on a true thing is the UFO thing with a state trooper in 1979 in the Minnesota, South Dakota, Sioux Falls area, that whole area with like sightings. It was like a hotbed for UFO sightings. That's the only element of it, which was the weirdest and like most disappointing element of the entire season. It's the only element that was true. Fargo, why do you do it? Why do you do it? But Jamie G will still be there. I'm gonna go ahead and check out season 3. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a sucker for the punishment, but I'm gonna check out season 3. Season 2 wasn't bad. Season 1 better. Season 2 okay. Curious about season 3.
I am a pretty big fan of season 3. It's definitely a little bit of a weird one if I remember correctly. You have Ewan McGregor playing twins, so he's playing against himself. You have Carrie Coon, she's awesome. There's a bunch of fun stuff in that one, and I'm going to see your complaint is a minor quibble as far as I'm concerned, because dude, the idea that now all of a sudden I have to pay $3 a month extra on Amazon to not watch ads is insane, and they won't let you just pay for it up front either. You have to do it as a recurring charge, right? As Invincible comes back, then they're doing Fallout, then it's The Boys. They have a lot of things rolling out. And I already signed up for a year. There was no mention of an additional fee to not have
No,
ads.
there wasn't.
This is a real complaint. You have a quibble.
really
I
is.
have a real class action suit. There is some stuff here. I am very furious about it. I am going to pay for it, obviously, during The Boys, because I tried to watch Invincible. I am really enjoying Invincible season 2. The second part of that just came back. But there were ads up front. There were ads during. They call it limited ads. It's basically the same number of ads you used to have to watch on regular television. We're basically right back around to where we started all of a sudden. It's now like streaming services are going to bundle together to basically give us cable. And they're bringing back ads. They're bringing back all of the things we hated. And that's why we ended up everyone got Netflix, because there were no ads and they had everything.
Exactly. It's not
You
that
just
hard to
want
understand,
Netflix.
people.
I'll just pay $75 a month for Netflix. All right, let's cut out all the other bullshit. Put it all in one thing. Let me just pay for it, and that's it. And
Dude, let me ask you a question. If something existed, this is how I feel about insurance. Like if something existed where it's like, if it's it's $1,000 a month, but then there's nothing. Like you get everything, and you never have to pay another thing ever, but you get everything. Like I'd probably do it, dude. Because I'm tired of getting nickel and dimed here and there and dealing with the
Well, I
ads
guess if you have
and the
multiple
upgrades and this
cars,
and that.
homeowners, it depends on what level of coverage you're talking about. But yeah, I think generally bundling should be good for the consumer. Whereas
Yes.
I remember back in the day, you used to go to fast food joint. We're definitely getting off track here, but I will get back on it. And you would go and you would see a significant discount if you got, say, the burger, the fries, and the soda together. Now,
Yes,
if you
you did.
actually do the math, sometimes it's cheaper to buy them separately. Only by a cent or two, but I've actually been places where it's cheaper to just order all the things separately. You're like, well, I don't want to we can't ring it up that way. But it's 3 cents cheaper. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Like I mentioned, still definitely enjoying Invincible. That just came back. been keeping up with Constellation on Apple TV. Jonathan Banks, Naomi Rapace, a little bit of sci-fi joint, pretty cool. One episode left in that. Keeping up with The Shield, I'm on to season 6 now. Season 5 was a banger. They brought in Glenn Close, Anthony Anderson there. You got Forrest Whitaker coming into the mix. A lot of great guest stars. So it's on Hulu. If you haven't checked out The Shield, you should. Soup, this one's a little bit for you. I am now current on Curb Your Enthusiasm. I got there. Did you catch the latest episode, the one with the dream joints this week, or did you not get to that one yet?
I haven't seen tonight's yet.
No, this is the one last week with Lala Anthony, Carmelo Anthony's wife, and Jamie G. I don't think you've seen it. Larry David is dating Lala Anthony, former MTV VJ Carmelo Anthony's wife.
Oh, yeah,
Wow.
okay.
Well, that's worth watching in and of itself.
It's a one-off. I mean, it was only episode, but it's definitely an odd. Like, you feel like they have to be. Maybe Larry David's younger than I think or something, but it was a little odd. And the episode basically revolves around cunnilingus.
Yeah. It's
nice. I really want to. That's
dude. I'll tell you what, man. Every episode this season has been a fucking banger, man. Like, I mean, he's definitely going out swinging, man. And I believe he is in his 70s. He looks like it anyway. And
he's one of those dudes that's always looked like it, but he probably looked 70 when he was 50 because of the hair and the balding.
Yeah, sure.
He's looked the same the whole run of the show. That's why it works so well. It's been on for 20 plus years. But Larry David looks very similar. The hair's a little grayer, but
yeah, absolutely, man. But yeah, I mean, he's still killing it. The entire cast is awesome, man. I mean, everybody just crushes it in that show. It's hilarious. I love it.
And JB's move, say what you will, him talking about going downtown was pretty entertaining. And I don't know if I love the whole thing with the whole dream thing. Like Larry pioneers this thing where like you just fake like being in a nightmare and say shit to get out of doing things, which is very, Larry David-esque or whatever. I don't know if that really like hung the whole thing for me as an episode, but I laughed. And like you said, I've enjoyed season 12. I really liked it since I kind of started putting a little bit of a season long arc, which ironically enough started with Mel Brooks when Larry David got on the producers back in season 3 or 4, whatever it was. And then they kind of started having the overarching things, like they had the fatwa and then the Spite store. I actually did like the concept for the Spite store. Yes. I thought that was cool.
So, Joe, dude.
So if you haven't watched Curb Your Enthusiasm or whatever, I would recommend, if nothing else, start with season 2. I'm not a huge fan of season 1, but once you get into it, it's pretty cool. I don't think it's nearly as rewatchable as Seinfeld, but I have enjoyed it. Soup, Jamie G, who's got another hole they filled?
Yeah, I filled another hole, man. I recently, also this past I watched the new Wonka movie, man, and it was good. It was pretty good, man. I mean, for what it was, and I went into it kind of thinking I wasn't gonna like it, and I did. It was cool, man. And I got to give it to Hugh Hernandez as Oompa Loompa, man. He did a stellar job, and the way they paid homage to the original, Gene Wilder kind of chop. Overall, solid watch. Give it a good look if you're looking for a Wonka movie, man. I mean, check it out, man.
Is that more of a musical, or is it just more of a straightforward? Or that's one thing I wasn't quite sure about. I know it's on. I wouldn't
call it a musical. But what was kind of cool about it is like they would bust out little bits of like pure imagination would come out. And they would kind of like tease it. Like it gave some teases, like I said, to the original, which I call the original, which is the the Gene Wilder joint and everything. But
Gene Wilder, yeah.
I
do not know the Johnny Depp one very well. I will say that I've seen the original one a bunch. I remember really loving the books when I was a kid. I think there are multiple books, right, with the glass elevator and whatnot. But that's a cool one. It definitely had Timothy Chalamet is like Zoolander. Like he's so hot right now. He's on fire.
Yeah. This is kind of like a pre-story before, like, is when Willy Wonka first like came here and was like he had nothing and it's like I'm gonna make chocolate. And, it's cool. It's a little bit, you expect it to be a little bit extreme and kind of, I don't want to say unrealistic, but magical or whatever, because it's Willy Wonka. And it shows a lot of that. And I don't know, it's cool. It's good enough, man. It was a good watch, man.
Nice. So above the Johnny Depp joint, but probably below the original?
Yeah, right there. Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. Nice. It's funny that weren't that many of Willy Wonka movies that now you can kind of do a power ranking. One thing I'll just throw in there before kicking it back is I have been keeping up with Shogun. That's a FX Hulu joint. In one thing I did find on Hulu, if you go to the Shogun, the episode, the show page, there is actually an English dub with, from what I can tell, all of the actual actors. So if the subtitles are the reason you're not checking it out, you can watch a fully English version if you want. It's on there. Just look at the top. If you look kind of right next to it, it's got the regular and it says English dub right next to it. So that's out there. It's a very awesome show. You should check it out. It's the biggest budget show FX has ever done. You can see it on screen. It really plays like an HBO show. Again, in the subtitles were your hang up, and there really shouldn't be another hang up. This takes care of it. So I'm trying to watch it both ways. Like I'll watch it first with the dub so I know what's going on, and then watch it again with the subtitles for the experience. And it's a really cool, good looking show. You can watch it multiple times. A lot going on, somewhat historical based. Very cool. Anybody else have anything, ear, mouth holes, nose holes, anything else?
One last thing for me here, Mills. Recently, I decided to re-listen to the New Year's Eve 12/31/2023 Fish show. And I was there in person, and I've been holding back on it just because it was so like mind-blowing and theatrical, where they actually like did a lyrical essentially performance of, it was like a Broadway show of Gamehenge, Trey's senior thesis. They literally acted it out and played it all at the same time, and it was mind-blowing. If you never see another show again, you could live with it, kind of thing. It was unbelievable. And I haven't really wanted to go back and listen to it just because it was so awesome. I want to remember it visually, but I decided to go back and listen to the show. Incredible. It didn't disappoint at all. It's an easy listen. It's fun. And it makes you realize, like, it doesn't necessarily do it justice if you weren't there to see it visually, but it's still very, very, very cool. And one thing that was awesome about the way the recordings picked up is you can get the fan excitement and engagement through the live recording, which was super cool. So like as things are happening, Fly Famous Mockingbird, the mockingbird's flying over the, all of Madison Square Garden. Like you can see like holding the book, dude. It was holding the Helping Friendly book. It was crazy. But you can hear the fans like reaction to that. And that was one thing that was really cool. I didn't want to listen to it because I was worried it would, like, I don't know, maybe just change the way I felt about actually viewing it, but it didn't disappoint at all. And it was awesome. So if anybody out there has a Live Fish app and you're at the show and you were kind of like, I don't want to listen to it because go ahead and do it. It was not just as good, but it was still an awesome show. And it was nice to get the whole like Gamehenge like set split up between set 2 and set 3. So that's it, Mills.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was not at that show, but I do enjoy listening to shows that I was at.
Yeah.
It just kind of takes me back sometimes. Obviously it's not the same, as being there, but you were there, so.
Yeah, it's like watching a football game or something you went to too. I mean, it's kind of cool. You can be like, oh, you're looking for yourself. Oh, I remember when this happened, and they're cutting. This happened when this, they cut away to commercial and something else is going on or whatever. It's always cool.
Yeah, it's really cool, and you remember, like, you hear like something happened, and you're like, oh yeah, dude, I remember that was super awesome. Because there's a whole visual performance going on at these shows. It's not just the musical element. So that was a lot of fun. It was nice to fill my ear holes with that. But like Soup, I love listening to the shows that I was at. But that was one that I listened to that entire run, like the 3 nights leading up to New Year's, but I hadn't listened to the New Year's show yet and decided to do it. So
good for you, man. I wish I had time to, like, I feel like there's so much content these days. It's hard to keep up on it all. Thank you for checking it out.
I would like to invite you to come on and ride the train. But we're not doing the Justified right now. This is not the choo-choo train when he punches you. It's the hype train. Mills, what are you hyped about?
There's a lot of good stuff coming out. One thing I slept on a little bit is the film Civil War, coming out April 12th. This is by Alex Garland. He did Devs, most notably, which I absolutely loved, and starred Nick Offerman. And this is a weird film about like a future America where obviously there was a civil war and stuff is bad. Again, this is starring Nick Offerman, a guy I love, Kirsten Dunst as well. Trailer looked really cool. This is a guy who wrote 28 Days Later, Dread, directed Ex Machina, Annihilation, in addition to, again, Devs, which was another FX Hulu joint, which I super loved. So that's coming out April 12th. Not long as we're recording this. Jamie G, Soup Deucer, who's hyped for something?
All right. Yeah, man. Well, you know what? I have, I'm not going to lie. I am hyped about this, but I don't know if I'm hyped about it in a good way or not. The reboot of The Crow, okay, the new The Crow. This looks like it could be awesome, but I honestly am torn on this one because I don't know that the original should be fucked with. You know, sometimes movies like that you just don't fuck around with, leave them as they are. You know, I do like the way that I like the way this might be and what it looks like from now, but a lot of times people try to mess around with a movie like on that caliber, and it just doesn't work. None of the sequels were any good. I mean, The Crow, the movie itself, is absolutely classic and legendary, you know, so I don't feel like it really should be tampered with. This is either going to be a home run or, you know, or a fucking safety, you know,
Right,
like
we've talked about The Crow. We covered it before, and I think the thing is, not only is it a very good film in its own right that was based on existing material, but Brandon Lee died.
Yeah.
You know, it would be like kind of like remaking The Dark Knight. And it's not like even that Heath Ledger died while filming that movie, whereas Brandon Lee did. And that's basically what the director has said is more or less wouldn't mind people dabbling in the universe, but the idea of doing the Eric Draven origin story again, that particular story, is so specific to Brandon Lee. It'd be like doing, you know, Enter the Dragon again with someone, even if it was Bruce Lee's son, who ironically Brandon Lee.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't be the same. It's such a, you know, an iconic film on its own, and so
I know.
specifically tied to certain circumstances.
See, and I'm a huge fan of The Crow, man. I mean, since it came out, I've always been like, you know, that's a great fucking movie, man. I mean, but I like the casting. I like Skarsgård, you know, Eric Northman's little
Is that
brother.
the one
there.
from It? That
Yes,
Skarsgård?
yeah.
I get him confused a little bit sometimes.
And you know, I think he'll be. I don't like his short hair and shit. But you know, I think if you're gonna play the role, you play the role. But we'll see, man. You know, I mean, I'm not sure about the way he's rocking the makeup and stuff too. But you don't really get that much out of what I've seen from the trailers. So you know, I'm very, very interested in this. But like I said, it's either gonna be awesome or it's gonna. Or
Yeah,
it's
there's
gonna
no middle ground probably on this one. It either has to be something that's so good that it's worthy of doing it, or it won't be. Like it has to reach that bar, kind of.
Yeah, I would think they would have to know that going into it. Like, dude, if we're gonna tackle this, you know, this is kind of like a major. You know, I mean,
Yeah, I remember saying that to myself about various Terminator movies over the years too. Like, oh, they got Arnold back. They bring Linda Hamilton back. You know.
yeah, but those are all just kind of like you know, extensions of it. They're not redoing.
Right. Not
you
a
know,
full on, reboot.
So you know, I mean,
Hard
I'm
reboot.
I'm kind of against it, really, but I'm gonna watch it because like I have to, you know. So
soundtrack better be a banger. That's all I got to say.
And the soundtrack better be a banger. Yes.
And it's gonna look
Big
great
shoes to
too.
fill.
And have great supporting. I mean, you get Ernie Hudson up in there. There's so much I enjoy about that flick.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that one, man. But I mean,
Yeah, if you like The Crow, like I said, we've talked about it. So there's probably a link or QR code on the screen right now if you're watching on the YouTube. So check it out. It was fun. Like The Crow.
And I actually have heard that the soundtrack, they are focusing on making an awesome soundtrack, or have made an awesome soundtrack for that. From what I know there's Ozzy on there. I think that was the only notable one right off the top of my head, but it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be something.
It's good. I don't have to know who the bands are or anything as long as they're good, right? That's key.
It should be.
Jamie G, you got one for us? Something you're hype about?
I do. So this has been the weirdest thing with some of the things with the Screen Actors Guild strike and stuff, how it affected us. I'm actually wanting to excited, but like only because like, dude, I kind of got a halfie. American Horror Story. We only got the first 5 episodes. It was weird. It's like I needed to see how that ends. American Horror Story is an awesome series, but definitely a fan of like the first like 6 or 7. Evan Peters like basically almost went crazy after he did Cult, which was an awesome one where he plays like this radicalized, super awesome. We should do a whole thing on American Horror Story, in my opinion. I miss Evan Peters. I miss some of the original cast members, but this was a cool one. I was really curious to see where they went with it. And then it just like randomly just like, hey, there's no more episodes. So excited to see kind of that mid-season premiere for season 12 and see where they go with that. I think that's coming up in early April. And I just want to see how this story ends.
See, here's where I'm at with the American Horror Story. I have not even seen this latest one, and I was a huge fan. Every year I looked forward to it. Like when September rolled around, man, I was ready for like, you know, that, you know, leading into October, getting into Halloween. American Horror Story was part of it for like, you know, a bunch of years in a row. But the past couple have not really impressed me that much. And like I said, I haven't even seen this one yet. It is on my list, but I haven't gotten around to watching it yet. Now I'm glad I didn't because I didn't really know it's separated like that. So when it does come out, I'll just watch the whole thing in April, I guess, or May or whatever, you know.
Yeah, I think there's no question that like when you lose some of the powerhouses they had, like Evan Peters, who took time off because the role of who he played, Kai Anderson and Colt, was so much on him that he needed to just like literally take like years off. I think he's going to be back next year. I'm hoping, but then you lose Sarah. You know, a bunch of these incredible characters that we knew throughout the first 5, 6, 7 seasons. You start losing them, and it's like, dang, you know, it's a lot of talent. That said, it's still been, you know, I still enjoy it. I hate when I'm like into something and then I like can't get the answers to like the end of it. So excited to see how they end the thing.
Yeah, shows always used to kind of take off, maybe, December, like after Christmas, they do the Christmas episodes and then take a month or two off or whatever. So that was the standard. But now the whole idea of splitting all these seasons in half is a little infuriating. I've been watching Invincible on Amazon. They did the same thing. We hadn't gotten a new season since during the pandemic for over 2 years. So there was no reason they had to hold back. And yet they did. Withholding is not my fetish.
No, I'm not big on the withhold.
I'm not big on withholding either, but I will tell you this. At first, I was really disappointed going back to Curb real quick that they didn't put them all out at once, you know. But final season, now I kind of appreciate the fact of having to wait till Sunday to watch the new one.
Did they do that? Was that ever a binge, or was that always? I thought that was always a weekly release.
They may have, but every other show does that, or a lot of other shows do that now. So that's what I kind of expected them to do, but they didn't. And like I said, at first I didn't like it, but now now I've accepted it, and I actually think it's better that they did it this way. Yeah.
Yeah, let's be honest. The boys are going to drop 3 episodes at once, and we're going to be like, yeah, that's cool. But then the show's only on for 6 weeks.
Right.
Yeah, I'd rather it be week by week.
It's a double-edged sword, dude.
Yeah, for the hot shit, you want to stretch it out, right? You got to edge for the hot shit. You can't just, then it's over. You don't want it to be over so quickly.
Yeah, because obviously you're just going to bang them all out like as soon as you can.
Yeah, Sarah, I did that with The Bear season 2. I didn't want to. I had something else going on. I was like, I'll just watch the first episode.
Yeah,
8 hours later or whatever. Like, I think I took a break after Forks because I was sweating or whatever. But yeah, it was a.
It's a good break time. That's it. That's a good smoke break right there. That's Forks, dude. You got to go out and take 5.
Yeah, either you're smoking or you're getting smoked, and then it was coming up off you after that one.
Let's move on here, and we haven't been doing this show for that long, but apparently long enough for a sequel. One of the first movies we talked about was Beetlejuice, and the official teaser trailer for Beetlejuice just dropped. That means it's trailer time. You know my tease. We're going to give our brief thoughts on the teaser, but first, Mills, hit us with those details.
All right, man. This is Beetlejuice, the official name. I wonder what the third one would be called. This is going to drop on June 6th. Tim Burton is back to direct a screenplay by Alfred Goh and Miles Millar. Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, and Catherine O'Hara are reprising their roles. We've also got Jenna Ortiz as Astrid Dietz, Monica Bellucci as Beetlejuice's wife, Justin Theroux as Rory, and Willem Dafoe in an as-of-yet unknown role. Soup, you're a big Tim Burton fan. Thoughts on the teaser trailer here?
Dude, I really, I am just so stoked that this is finally actually a thing. So I've been hearing about it for years now, and and if
I'm old enough to remember Beetlejuice Goes to Hawaii. I believe that was the original sequel.
Well, either way, man. I mean, whatever they do, if Tim Burton's at the helm, man, then there's honestly, if anybody else was taking control of this, I would be disappointed and pissed off and very worried about it. But I think this has got a lot of potential, and I hope it lives up to. I think it can to the original, and shit, maybe even sometimes a movie like this might even be better. I don't think it will be, but it might be. I definitely am looking forward to it. I can't wait to check it out. I love that they brought back most of the cast. I don't know. I want to see a lot of I don't know. I want to see a lot of Tim Burton, Beetlejuice kind of shit. We've been waiting a long time for it. I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, and I think that's really the thing here. I believe I read an interview or something where Tim Burton said this has kind of reinvigorated his like passion for making movies.
Yeah, and
And
I
it
think
was
it took so long because of they wanted to do it the right way, you know. So
and I thought the teaser, there's not a lot there, but it gives you an interesting balance of like they're doing the Deo song, but it's kind of creepy and it's kind of cool and a little creepy, but still fun. And I think that was always the thing with Beetlejuice. It was weird, but it was still fun and accessible for everybody,
yeah, I
despite being
mean,
a little out there.
you've been to Saturn, right? Sandworms, hate them.
And well, Michael Keaton sells it too. Jamie G, thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think this is a chance for you could potentially see Michael Keaton win an award here. I think he's going to absolutely crush, and I think the emphasis of the story is going to be, based around him and his ability to be back, and it just excites me with what they can do with that. But on top of that, um, for me, it's the fact that you have that Tim Burton element. I think this could be really cool. Like, the fact that he's talking about it reinvigorated him. Like, yeah, I'm all in, man. I like the retaining of cast, but it's kind of like a new generation with Winona Ryder's daughter or whatever. So that little teaser of a trailer, like there's not a lot there, but I would be lying if I said it didn't get me
There's
excited about
just
this
enough,
one.
right? There's just
Yeah,
enough
Well,
there.
because they
It's a
did this,
perfect tease.
not even the full
we've
tip.
had things like they put it on Broadway. There was like Beetlejuice on Broadway and whatever, and like it was fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but I'm excited to see. I want to see more of Michael Keaton. Like I want him to be the MVP of this, and I think he will.
Yeah, for sure. Nobody else can be Beetlejuice. If anybody, I mean, obviously Michael Keaton's Batman, but other people have played Batman. I would not want to see anybody else play Beetlejuice. Agreed?
Yeah, that's yes, 100%. I mean, if they want to do Son of Beetlejuice with the blessing or something, whatever. But that's not Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice.
And
Like I get,
I still think they're gonna keep. I still think he's gonna keep that little bit of a like kind of like a quirky vibe when it's not like in Beetlejuice world where it's like like between the back in the day
he
it was
dropped the juice is loose in the trailer.
yeah
Very good use of the juice is loose. And let's be honest with you, they're setting up the threequel, right? Because you got to say it 3 times.
yeah. Yeah, see, so like before, like in Beetlejuice, the original, it was Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin and their characters before they had died or whatever. That's what I'm talking about, the quirkiness, real life kind of shit. But then going into their, when they get the book of
The Book of the Dead or whatever. Yeah.
or whatever the fuck. Once that happens, then everything gets Tim Burton down crazy. But it still has that before it. It just isn't like it's
My
almost like
guess is they'll do that with the daughter. We'll get it through her eyes. She has no idea of any of this stuff. That's kind of the impression I got from the trailer. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
she'll be our kind of
it's
entry
very
point into the
promising.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I say it. Yeah, very. I think all unanimous, very promising, more or less.
Yes.
That's indeed.
Oh, yes. Well, that's not the only thing that's promising here. Before we go ahead and swim to merry old England, we need to connect us dudes to the dude with 6 Degrees of Lebowski, the Duderino. Magna Mills, it is your job to connect Robin Hood Men in Tights to the big Lebowski in 6 degrees or less using the late, great Richard Lewis.
Honestly, this is so easy. I legitimately feel bad, so I'm going to do two. First, let's break stuff. In Robin Hood Men in Tights, Richard Lewis plays Prince John. In the music video for Limp Bizkit, Break Stuff, Richard Lewis plays himself, as does Derek Jeter. In the film Anger Management, Derek Jeter once again plays himself, while John Turturro plays Chuck. And John Turturro, my friends, he is the Jesus.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of cameos in Anger Management, and I really, really wanted to get there with Bobby Knight and Blue Chips and Shazam and do a whole March Madness thing. But I'm saying that for another day. I'm not going to do it. Instead, I'm going to do a curb thing, and I'm going to try to feature a couple of our favorites. In Robin Hood Men in Tights, Richard Lewis plays Prince John. In Season 6, Episode 1 of Curb Your Enthusiasm, Meet the Blacks, Richard Lewis plays himself, while Vivica A. Fox plays Loretta Black. In the film Idle Hands, Vivica A. Fox plays Debbie LaCure, while Jessica Alba plays Molly. In Sin City, Jessica Alba plays Nancy, and Rosario Dawson plays Gail. In Josie and the Pussycats, Rosario Dawson plays Valerie Brown, and Tara Reid plays Melody Valentine, and Tara Reid is Buddy Lebowski.
Dude, way to bust out Turturro and Tara Reid, man. It wasn't even Donnie this time. That is so cool. Digging deep, dude. I love it.
And I think you need to do one more, and I've only got 2 words for you. Abe Lincoln.
No, man, I say
I'm good, dude, but I have to like invent a time machine, man. I could maybe do that, but we don't have all day here.
No, I didn't say Abe Lincoln. I said, hey, Blinken.
Oh, I see what you're doing there. See what I did there? All right, anyways, buckle up. We're going for a ride. This is going to be a fun one. In Robin Hood, Men in Tights, Mark Blankenfield plays Blinken. In season 4, episode 18 of Elf, called The Future So Bright, I Gotta Wear Shades, Mark Blankenfield guest stars as Eric Sr., and Dean Cameron guest starred as Robert Sherwood. In season 8, episode 9 of Psych, A Nightmare on State Street, Dean Cameron guest starred as Zach Eichelberry, and Corbin Burnson plays Henry Spencer. In Major League, Corbin Burnson plays Roger Dorn, while Charlie Sheen plays Rick Vaughn. In The Chase, Charlie Sheen plays Jack Hammond, while Flea plays Dale. And Flea, my friends, is the nihilist number 2.
I mean, he doesn't care about anything. He's a nihilist.
Come on, I got Elf and the Red Hot Chili Peppers in there. I got a little, and Dean Cameron in a non-ski school role.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. And you know what, Mills? Congratulations to you. And
that's sick, dude.
I don't know about you guys, but I think we're ready for our featured review. Mills, please break down the details for all us dudes.
Thank you, dude. This is Robin Hood Men in Tights, directed by Mel Brooks, on a screenplay by Mel Brooks, Evan Chandler, and J. David Shapiro. Story by Evan Chandler and J. David Shapiro. Produced by Mel Brooks. Cinematographer was Michael D. O'Shea. Edited by Stephen E. Rivkin. Music by Hummy Men. Originally released July 28th, 1993, and it had a budget of $20 million. Starring Carrie Lewis, Richard Lewis, Roger Rees, Amy Yasbeck, Mark Blakefield, Dave Chappelle, Matthew Porretta, Megan Cavanaugh, Eric Allen Kramer, Isaac Hayes, Tracy Ullman, Dom DeLuise, Patrick Stewart, Mel Brooks, and Dick Van Patten. The short plot synopsis is: Mel Brooks puts his own spin on the classic Robin Hood story in a spoof film that mostly pokes fun at Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, starring Kevin Costner. And, unlike Kevin Costner, Carrie Hughes can speak with an English accent.
This is going to be a full-on spoiler discussion of Robin Hood Men in Tights, and you might as well throw in everything Mel Brooks has ever done as well, on top of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. If you don't know, now you know. Before we dive into the film, let's talk a bit about our reason for doing this one. Richard Lewis, right? I mean, Soup, anything you'd like to say about him before we get started?
Yeah, I will say this, man. I didn't realize that he was in as much stuff as he was. And it's not that I didn't know, I just didn't remember it. He was in a lot of things that you know, a lot more than I thought anyway. But I will say that Once Upon a Crime is probably one we could probably put right up here with this one as far as a Richard Lewis performance, aside from his role in Curb, of course.
I remember more as a comic, to be honest. I knew he was in a couple of things, and again, looked at his IMDb a little bit, showed up in some random stuff, kind of, but not a ton that was really of note.
A lot of random stuff.
Of Curve. Like, I think he's just one of those dudes who's better known for being himself and that specific look, right? Like the black suits, the long hair. He was just one of those dudes of that era.
Always looks the same, dude. Yeah, always looks
like
the same. Even
in the last, they were friends, right?
Right. Although the last season of Curb, he did look a lot.
Yeah, for the frail. Yeah, definitely. You can tell.
But he's still, still had the same look, dude. And he just always rocked that, man. Never steered away from it, But yeah, Once Upon a Crime was something that I did want to mention, that maybe that is a movie that would be right up here with as a Richard Lewis performance, aside from him playing himself in Curb, right up here with his role in Men in Tights, man.
Yeah, shout out his just line reading of "I have a mole." That is, I think, his best line reading in the film, and it's quite great.
That was one of the laughs I got out of this one, and yeah, he just he's got a different type of humor, and it's something that I appreciate. I loved him on Curb Your Enthusiasm kind of throughout the series, and yeah, rest in peace, Richard Lewis. Good comedic presence for sure. With that said, I guess we're gonna go. I guess we'll start out with our overall thoughts. Maybe start out by telling us where you're at on this one before rewatching it, and whether or not it was better or worse than you remembered. Soup?
Well, I have not seen this movie in a while, probably a couple of years, but I saw it a couple of years ago or whatever. And before that, when I was younger, it was one of the movies that was on all time HBO, you know, and so I caught it a lot, and I liked it. Like when it came out, or, you know, late '90s, mid '90s, or whatever. It came out in '91, so mid '90s or whatever. I definitely saw the movie quite a few times back then, and I used to love it back then. It's hilarious, you know. When I watched it, you know, a couple of years ago or whatever, it still held up, and it was cool. And when I just recently rewatched it, man, it was about the same. You know, it held up, it was cool. It's got some quotable moments, and it's definitely got some very outdated things as well that didn't really live up to you know, to time or whatever. But it still is Mel Brooks, and you could tell there's his stamp on pretty much the entire fucking thing. But there's quotable shit that I'll remember from that one, and there's things I can carry on, and if they've come into my day to day, and I can bust it out because that's what we do, I will, you know. So I mean, there's so many little things that are just straight Mel Brooks style, you know, like blinking with Braille fucking corn mags, you know. I mean, like little things like that are just hilarious, dude. So paying attention to those details makes it awesome. Now, you know, with this one, any Mel Brooks movie is going to have a lot of cheesiness to it too, and unrealistic shit. This one might lean a little bit more towards that kind of side of things, but overall, I mean, it held up enough, you know, and it was good. I was glad I rewatched it, and you know, I mean, it's men in tights, dude. You know, you gotta be a manly man to wear fucking tights. So
I agree. You do have to be a manly man. Definitely worse than I remembered. I had a way higher opinion of this one before watching it. Just didn't get there for me. I thought it was so specific to the Kevin Costner Robin Hood that it would just was like, if you didn't watch that, like you pretty much, this doesn't, you might as well not even watch this. And on top of that, I just found it to be more corny than funny. And it just didn't really give me what I thought it was going to give me. So definitely disappointed in this one, man. Not my, I think it's probably my least favorite Mel Brooks thing. And yeah, it just, just,
I think that's about right for me. Oh, listen, you kept saying Mel Brooks and little things, and that just made me keep thinking, like, oh, Mel Brooks is the only guy who would cast himself with a mohel, and then you just picture the little guillotine he has for dudes. Yeah, that's little stuff is there. There are some funny moments, but for the most part, I think I preferred at least the second Naked Gun sequel. I preferred the first Scary Movie, maybe the first three Scary Movies. You know, I preferred both Hot Shots movies probably. So this is fine, but it's just not on the same level as Spaceballs. And Jamie G,
no.
I hate to say it, but I think Dracula Dead and Loving It is worse than this, maybe even because it has Leslie Nielsen and Mel Brooks and it should be gold. And that feels more disappointing. I don't think this was, oh, this is, oh, terrible. You shouldn't watch this. But I don't know if I'm doing a Mel Brooks retrospective or something, maybe I'd watch it again. But otherwise, it's fine. I watch it again. I got a couple chuckles, and
I think with this movie, man, you know, you know, like you said, it is definitely very specific to Prince of Thieves. You know, I mean, it's basically a spoof of mostly just that movie, I think. But it's very specific to the time. It came out in '91. It's very '90s oriented, and you know, some of that stuff just didn't hold up.
Early
you know?
90s specifically, especially. I mean, it's like a 2 or 3 year time period, and they just picked, like, Star Wars was a great film to parody because not only were there a few of them, it's, you know, it stood the test of time. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves is like, more people remember the soundtrack than the movie probably at this point.
Yeah, but Robin Hood, the story of Robin Hood is an ageless whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
But I feel like the jokes and some of the gags and stuff were very specific.
They screwed themselves by being so specific. They should have been broader. Even, you know, Spaceballs, it's not just Star Wars parodies. There's some alien stuff. There's some outer space. There's a lot of other good stuff in there. So they're just, I don't think was as much of that here. You saw a little bit with the Godfather parody that they brought in, which was somewhat entertaining. But that was probably the one thing that was, you know, at least something that has stood the test of time. I would have loved to have actually seen Mel Brooks do a straight on Godfather parody as opposed to this, maybe.
Oh, maybe we'll see that in the future. That'd be nice, right?
One can hope.
One can hope. And, you know, I guess, guys, we touched on it a little bit because this is almost a direct spoof of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I guess it makes sense to at least state our positions on that Johnsky. Mills, are you a fan of the Kevin Costner Prince of Thieves here, or are you more of a oh, what's his joint? With the
Waterworld.
wolves.
The Dances with Wolves.
Dance with Wolves. Are you a Dance with Wolves guy?
I was of the age. Dances with Wolves is definitely by far a better film. I remember liking this one when I was a kid. We had it on VHS at my house. That's always a big deal and how much you would like it. But it was fun. And I remember loving, Christian Slater in there. Alan Rickman is the sheriff just chewing scenery. Kevin Costner was like the least interesting thing with that movie, kind of. I think, succeeds despite of him instead of because of him. So I like it, but definitely when you go back and watch it now, it's more of an ironic watch. Morgan Freeman's doing great. There's a lot of good stuff going on in that movie. It looks pretty cool and everything, but it definitely is slow and long and kind of cheesy, and Costner hams it up, not in the good way like Alan Rickman is doing. So I am okay with it. Really loved it when I was younger, but it has not aged well for me. Jamie G, what do you think about Prince of Thieves?
I think I'm in the exact same boat here. I remember really liking it when it came out, and it was like, wow, this was kind of like great action and a great story, and Kevin Costner. This was when he was in his heyday with Dances with Wolves and Bodyguard, and then of course
there were some cool fights, the slow-mo arrow shots. I remember Will Scarlet getting shot the arrow through the hand.
And I like
there was cool stuff like
scenery.
That.
I like the scenery in the woods. It kind of made it feel like real. And you got to remember,
good. It was shot good. Yeah, absolutely.
This came out before a time where there was a lot of CGI and stuff like that, so it made you feel like you were in Nottingham Forest and all that. It was fine. I don't know that I would really care to watch it now, but I remember liking it as a kid.
But some of it's so easily to parody, like the bit where Kevin Costner eats the sand, which they do in this. Some of the best bits I think in this are when they actually dive into the minutia of Prince of Thieves. But you're right, it doesn't work if you don't at least have a working memory of that movie. And again, when you're a kid and your family owns 10 VHS tapes, you watch them quite a bit. So I remember more of that movie than I care to admit, probably.
Well, I'll tell you this, man. When I was younger, when Prince of Thieves came out, the Costner joint, I was stoked about it, man. Well, for one, it has Slater in it. When I was younger, Slater was my favorite actor. I mean, it still is kind of, well, maybe not, but he's still awesome. He's older and whatever. Man, I'm not going to get off on a Slater tangent here, but the cast was fucking great, dude. And the movie was really good for what it was when it came out, man. I mean, it was hyped up a lot. It had the Bryan Adams song or whatever, that made it just, it just kind of kicked it over the edge a little bit. It was a good movie, man. Prince of Thieves was definitely a good movie, a serious movie where you look at Men in Tights, where it's just, I don't know why Mel Brooks decided to take that movie and just spoof it, but hey, whatever, man. I mean, it worked, man. Yeah, I was always a fan of the Prince of Thieves. It's nostalgic for me. It reminds me of, like you said, it looks like you're in Sherwood Forest, man.
Not a lot of love for the Russell Crowe and what was the other one with Jamie Foxx or whatever. They keep trying to do Robin Hood and they keep failing.
Yeah, no, I think they
not
should
easy.
Yeah, unless it might be time for a spin around on a Robin Hood something.
Oh, I'm sure it's coming.
It's got to be done right though, man.
I'd like to see Emilio Estevez in there, man.
Bringing
I
him
could
back.
see that. I could totally.
How about Tarantino? Let's give Tarantino a Robin Hood movie. I think that would be. Like, that's what I want, kind of. Like, someone who could really... I mean, I think we got, not Oliver Stone, Ridley Scott did one, and, there's been some serious directors that have taken runs at Robin Hood, and I think it's one of those stories that's like the Spider-Man origin story. It's been told so many times. You have to, like, do something crazy different or do in a different point in the timeline or a different story or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, or just, either that or just be more very specific to the true story or the original story,
right? Or the myth, or yeah.
This is a spoof film, so it's all about what works and what doesn't, and it's subjective. It's your opinion here. We're going to do something we call 2 yays and a nay. Just like it sounds, we're all going to give 2 things we like and 1 that we don't. Mills, lead us off with something you can give a yay to from Robin Hood Men in Tights.
I like all of the character introductions, basically. I think it's fun. We meet Robin in the jail. You meet a Sneeze there. When you meet a Chew, that's fun. You meet Blinken, it's fun. Not necessarily huge on when you meet Marion in Broomhilde. Not the greatest, but fun when you meet Little John. When you meet Prince John. When you meet the sheriff. That all really works for me. So I really like the character introductions. I think they're fun for the most part. They don't go on too long. And it's a cool way to meet them, right? Everyone kind of gets their moment to shine. I think Blinken is pretty high up there for me with the whole bit, like Sue mentioned before, with the Braille Playboy in the statue bit and everything. I think that's probably the one that made me laugh the hardest. But even meeting a Chew, maybe because it's the Chew gag for the first time, that works pretty well. But that's something that I don't know really works for me. Any of y'all have any thoughts? Any one particular character introduction you liked?
The Blinken introduction was awesome for me. I thought that was great.
You've got no arms, but you've grown nice breasts or you have nice boobs or whatever it was. That was a pretty good line.
The fact that they stuck with the one for me is the fact that they stuck with that bit of him being blind. They stuck with it throughout and they used it throughout, and it was funny throughout. Even when he's trying to find the ladder and he's falling.
They pay it off the one time where he thinks he can see and then runs into the tree. And he's like, "Oh no, wait, I was wrong. I can't see."
Yeah,
like when he thought he regained his vision, that was a pretty good. It made it worth it kind of to keep the gag running that hard. You know what I mean? Maybe it was a little bit too much work to get there. There's a lot of running gags here. We're definitely going to rank them coming up here, but that was a good one. And definitely one of my favorite bits all around. Blinken. Blinken. And Soup, one thing you liked from Robin Hood, Men in Tights.
I mean, if I'm just going to pick the one thing that,
you got to pick two things. So just it can be any one thing you like, just, that could be fun to talk about or just you really loved. Dealer's choice.
I was a big fan of pretty much any scene that had Tracy Ullman playing Latrine. They were all pretty damn hilarious, man. Any scene that she was in was funny, man. Just the thing where she's even like a random, like she's in the room, she's got the cardboard cutout of Rottingham there. She's like praying, like, "Oh, let my so and so just fall into my arms or whatever," and then he just comes crashing through the fucking ceiling or whatever. I forget what happened with that.
Those are three of the best gags. That one, because that's an Animal House reference, I'm pretty sure. At the end of Animal House, the kid's in his bed playing like, please God, give me a woman or whatever, and then the chick comes right through the roof and lands on the bed. So I'm pretty sure that's what they were going for on that one. And then there's the whole
beautiful naked chicks don't just fall from the sky.
Yeah, and that's from Dogma, so that's also cool. And then the bit where it looks like she's doing a spell or whatever, but then it turns out she's just a really bad cook. She's like, "Oh yeah, get a witch or whatever." And then the cardboard cutout, that's just so perfectly anachronistic and it reminds you of being in a blockbuster. And you, like you called it, man, Tracy Ullman just absolutely just slays here with the fake nose, and it's the best take on the Robin Hood thing, right? With the weird witch or whatever there.
Yeah.
It was her and the sheriff that had the relationship. I think changing that to Prince John here works really well. So I think that's one of the changes that kind of worked, that the idea that she's just scheming on the sheriff the whole time. And let's be honest, I don't think the sheriff was doing much better.
Yeah.
The sheriff seems to be trying, but he doesn't, my guess is he's not that successful in love.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so, man. And I don't think the pool over there is that big either, really, but also shout out real quick to Tracy Ullman in Curb too, man. The last couple seasons she's been in Curb has been fucking sick. She's hilarious in that as well. So, but anyway, not out of tangent.
She looks so much different too in Curb. I didn't even really recognize her at first. And I mean, we also have to give. Did you like the gag where it's like you changed your name to Latrine? It used to be Shithouse. Is there something that would have been funnier than Shithouse there? I mean, it has to be kind of period specific, but I was like, man, it feels like there's a slightly better version of that joke. This whole movie feels like someone needed to do one more, one more do-over on the script, like more polished, kind of.
I guess the only way to one up it is if she changed it from Glory Hole. Glory Hole might have topped it.
That might already be better. That's what I mean. I just think this is a movie that there's some potential here. Just maybe it again a little bit more spin and polish, probably.
Sure. Yeah, agreed.
Mills represents cheesesteak land, and the soup and I both love a good sandwich. So we're going to sandwich our nay in between our yays. Soup, give us one thing you did not like.
The fucking songs, man. Damn it, those songs. They go on too long and they're too shitty.
Soup, I will second your emotion there. I think for the most part, the musical numbers, with the exception of the actual Men in Tights joint, were all pretty terrible. I did not like the opera stuff. None of that really worked. To give something just slightly different, I will say again, we've already kind of mentioned it, all the very period specific jokes, especially like the Patriot arrow. There's a reference to, ironically, I think it was like George W. Bush, like being a draft dodger or whatever, the National Guard joke. There's just some really hyper specific, like late 90s, the late 80s, early 90s jokes that don't really land. So I think that and the musical numbers are definitely the two nays for me. Jamie G, what's your nay here? What did you not like about this one? Pick, one or two.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both of your guys' stuff. I guess just the fact that the jokes didn't really, like, they didn't really land as much as I want them to. Like, they just didn't really.
Need a more polish, right?
Yeah, they just didn't get there. Like, they just, you know what I mean? Like, the fact that, like, I could have put up with all that if, like, they were great, but they just weren't. There was just maybe one or two times. Like, the things that made me laugh are people who are in the movie the least amount of times, like the rabbi or Dom DeLuise. Like, it wasn't even anything where it's like people who are like actually in there for a long period of time. You know what I mean? It just like, I don't know. It just didn't, the fact that like they didn't hit that, felt like they had to hit that and they didn't.
Yeah, they're just not laugh out loud moments, really. You get some chuckles
Really
or
not.
whatnot, but you never get that deep belly laugh, and there's just like minor stuff in Spaceballs that'll draw that on you. Like, I don't know that there's a joke here that's as good as like you captured their stunt doubles, which is not even maybe a top 10 joke in Spaceballs.
I just like how I just like that it's fun. I mean, it's fun. Yeah, it doesn't make you really laugh out loud, but there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, other than it's a good afternoon, random day off kind of movie if you want. Just nothing too serious, or obviously it's not serious. It's Mel Brooks, but I just like the vibe of it, and the nostalgia of it, man. And I think overall, and that's nothing to do with the actual content of the movie, just the way the movie is or what it is. I mean, just the movie itself. And I know that's kind of a difficult explanation or a difficult answer, but it's weird and it's hard to explain. But I like that about it, and that just is me. I mean, like in my brain, I like that comfortability of a movie like this sometimes. Yeah,
I kind of get what you mean, right? It feels like this is basically like a take on the Princess Bride more than anything else, right?
I mean, I'll take the Princess Bride over this.
Right.
But...
Oh, absolutely. But it's more of that tone, right? Like in the Princess Bride, like you always got to know the good guy's going to win or whatever.
Like
and
it's on a day off.
It's a little bit more different. Whereas Spaceballs, I think, just because it has the more sci-fi tone or specific, it's not quite as like light and fun. And this is supposed to be probably more like a Wonka or something, right? Like something like that that's you're not supposed to take it seriously or whatever. And I will say that one of the other things I do really like, which is I think what you were getting at, is I think all of the individual performances are very good. I think they're all doing pretty good work here. I think a lot of it just comes out to the writers, or maybe they needed more time to film, do more takes, take a couple of other runs and stuff. I think if maybe there were just a couple of better gags or something, they were on to something here. It's not actively bad or anything. It's just not great. But I think all of the actors are doing pretty good work, especially Cary Elwes here. He carries this with his charm, in a way that like no one does in Spaceballs. Like you don't ask Bill Pullman to do that. He's got John Candy with him. You know what I mean? Robin really has to carry this entire flick, and I think he really pulls it off. No, I know there are other guys, but they don't really shine as good as they should, I think. Like even Chappelle, I think, shines in spite of the material he's giving, not because of it. I think the one time he really shines is when he does the Malcolm X thing. That feels the most Chappelle thing of the whole movie. And
again,
that
a very early 90s-ish thing, because I think that's when
that's the Denzel movie. Yeah, with the glasses, when he puts that on, that's probably my favorite Chappelle bit. But that, again, I think that feels like more they just gave him the glasses and said, all right, do Denzel doing Malcolm X. And that's what he did, and it worked excellent. some of the other stuff might even been overwritten a little bit, maybe. Again, you never know what went on behind the scenes, but I definitely think all the actors did good work, did very good work, and everything like that.
Yeah,
Jamie,
I'll agree on that one. Yeah.
you got one more yay? It doesn't have to be super positive, but one more positive to make the sandwich.
I guess just the fact that like some of the characters that weren't main characters kind of carried the movie. And when you nail side characters, it's usually a good thing. And I think this did. Like people who had like one line or like one scene really kind of performed. Those were some of the better scenes in my opinion. So I'm gonna give it that the usage of the side characters.
Yeah, I think a lot of the smaller roles in this movie definitely shined pretty brightly during the entire thing. But I'm not going to take it away from Carrie or Chappelle either, man. I mean, I think this was this Chappelle's first movie role.
Yeah, like first movie. Although one thing we didn't mention, it's really random. Apparently, Danny McBride is somewhere in this movie uncredited as one of the merry men. I'm assuming it's during the training sequence, but I noticed that on the IMDb.
Or maybe the dancing. Yeah, that's what you're talking about. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, somewhere in one of the random, you know what I mean? Probably just a background extra or whatever.
Interesting. Okay. Well, now I gotta find him. I gotta go full on. Where's
I'm sure I didn't actually Google it. It was one of those things that was in the IMDb trivia or whatever. But again, we did we put the work in on this one at least. Like we really tried to be the most manly men in tights we can be.
Absolutely, always.
Well, let's get a bit more specific as far as what we really liked from this one. We've done a bunch of rankings, which is very convenient for me because Magna Mills is our resident mathematician. Mills, take it away, please and thank you.
All right, we're going to start with our name rankings here. They were pretty fun, and we had a pretty clear order. At 8, we have Will Scarlett O'Hara. He's from Georgia. At 7, we have Don Giovanni. We have a tie at 5 between Sheriff of Rottingham and Rabbi Tuckman. At 4, we have a Sneeze. At 3, we have Blinken. At 2, Latrine. And at 1, Achu. Some of these will tie into the recurring gags, which we're also going to rank. I mean, I guess the Don Giovanni, Sheriff of Rottingham, were kind of clever. I will say that the Will Scarlett O'Hara doing a Gone with the Wind gag didn't work because it felt like it only existed to then set up the where are you from, South Central Georgia or whatever gag that Chappelle does, and that whole bit didn't really work for me, so that killed me a bit. And do you think they made it Rabbi Tuckman because he was a Moyle, so it was implying there was some sort of tuck situation going on? Or
it was a Moyle. I enjoyed the Moyle commentary.
It might be a lift and a tuck. I think the way they do that is a lift and the tuck, right? With the
I mean, because obviously I think yogurt, for place of Yoda in Spaceballs is just better. So he's trying to be what Friar Tuck here. So I guess
yeah.
that's like Rabbi Tuckman, and he's a Moyle. I guess that's fine, but I feel like again there were just maybe a little bit more polished. Maybe there's a slightly better version of that name. Probably even Sheriff of Rottingham. It's kind of like funny the one time, but they keep calling him Rottingham. I guess is slightly funnier, but not great. And then the Sneeze and Blinken or Sneeze and the Chew are kind of too similar. Not bad or whatever. I mean, for joints you have to keep going to every time. And
I think shit like that I expect out of a Mel Brooks movie. Like silly names like that and little random scenarios.
Yeah, President's Group. He loves puns. Mel Brooks is definitely a big puns guy, and I'm also a pun fan and a big Punisher fan, so that all works for me for the most part. And any of the other names stick out for you? Anything we missed? I know you had like falafel at the beginning, and there were literal camel jockeys. I mean, this was definitely a movie of its time.
I would say just I enjoyed the literal like the little map of the old world as like he's swimming to England, and the fact that like that's the first sign like his speeches suck, where like a sneeze cuts him off and he's like, you're gonna miss the tide, and then he realized like he's actually gonna go swim to England. That was just like it was so stupid.
I thought that was Indiana Jones. Remember when he travels and like you kind of see it on the map or whatever with the dotted line? So I thought that's what they were doing, but he did swim all the way around without stopping too.
It was very stupid, but it made me chuckle, I guess.
Yeah, I think a little bit of a play in Prince of Thieves. Robin kind of just somehow gets back to England in like a boat with like a rowboat with like 3 other dudes or something, and they never really explain it. He just kind of gets back. So maybe that's what they were going for. Let's move on to the running gags. Once again, we ranked 8 of these. At the bottom, at number 8, we have the Sheriff of Rottingham's aphasia. That's where he says, words in the wrong order. They kept going back to it. Wasn't that funny? At 7, we have the fact that Broomhilda is the heavier woman. The whole bit with the horse moves or whatever is fine if that was the only gag, but they do a few of those, so not the greatest. At 6, we have, Jamie G mentioned it, Robin's speeches suck. I think this is pretty funny, especially when Chew kind of shows him up doing the Malcolm X thing. At 5, we have Latrine loving the sheriff. Soup and I both thought that was very funny. Jamie G was not as high on that one. At 4, we have the Achu, oh, bless you joke. Again, probably funny a couple of times, runs its course a little bit after that. At 3, we have the chastity belt. My main problem with that is I have a lot of logistical questions about how this has worked her whole life or whatever, but we will forgive them right now. At 2, we all had it at 2. Prince John's mole, pretty classic. And at number 1, just the Blinken being blind gags. And let's focus on the positive here. Blinken gets multiple gags that are good enough to justify him being blind, right? I especially love the one where they have him in the lookout tower and Robin's like, what are you doing? And he's like, guessing.
Yeah, why is Blinken in the lookout tower? I guess no one's coming. Yeah, dude, that was one of the more hilarious Blinken moments, dude.
It is a good one.
Yeah.
Like, that's the one I think they utilize the most. Like, they get the most out of that from that moment we meet him, on the shitter with the Braille Playboy. That's kind of funny when they deploy even the centerfold of that, and you can just see it because the Braille is just raised. There's no language for like how that works. It just has to be kind of a raised, those kind of nail sculptures or whatever you'd see back in the day. You get the feel of the terrain or whatever. But I mean, how about the chastity belt? I think that's the main thing from the trailer. We all remember it from when we were kids. It's funny, but Jamie G, I think, talked about this before we got on, or Soup, I don't know if it was you, but the fact that the key doesn't work at the end kind of sucks, right? Like, the call the locksmith line is good, but it's not worth the payoff. It wasn't
worth it. That joke did not deliver. Like, that's the whole thing. He gets the key at the beginning. You almost forget about it. And then the whole time it's like, okay, it goes in, they do the whole thing where it's in the air and it breaks and it's super cool and it just lands perfectly.
Yeah,
like it needed to open it. It was not worth that was just, dude, we're trying too hard. Like, it should have just opened it. We didn't need to call the locksmith. I thought that was so stupid. I was like, that's
nothing.
Garbage.
Like, there's no way that was. I mean, I guess like Soup said, call the locksmith is kind of funny, but there was
not really.
Probably get to that. Like, what if she took it off and then there was an even smaller one under it?
There's just nothing to me. There was nothing funny about that. It just was
totally
like,
honest with you, I don't even know if I'd want to see what was under that thing after what 20.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Logistically, there's a lot of Broomhild makes it worse because she points out, "Oh, get out of the bath so it doesn't rust." It almost would have been better if it was just magical or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's whatever.
Yeah, I know it's way over the top, but
it's not a realistic.
They make it a whole focal point of the flick, kind of, so it's hard to ignore.
Kind of, yeah, you're right, man. But and apparently a chastity belt is a real thing from back in the day, but I don't think it's like that. I think it's I don't know. I'd have to look.
Yeah, we're not going to get into all that, but yeah, definitely not not like that. And I think the latrine stuff was definitely fun. Jamie, you wasn't high in this one, and they probably just went to the Achu well like one or two too many times.
Yeah, probably.
They had about 3 good ones. They probably went to it 5 or 6 times, if I had to guess.
I would have liked to have seen a sneeze come back in at the end of the flick.
Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed, but that is a perfect transition because we want to talk about the cameo rankings. We get a bunch of cool actors who are only here for 1 or 2 scenes. Once again, we ranked 8 of these characters. We're going to start at the bottom. We had a tie at the bottom at 7 with Filthy Luca and Dirty Ezio. This is basically Luca Brasi, Dirty Harry, the guys that are in the Italian gang. They were fine. Got a couple of gags, but nothing major. At 6, we have Dick Van Patten as the abbot. At 5, we have Robert Wrigley as the hangman. At 4, we have Brian George as the dungeon maitre d' at the beginning. Pretty cool dungeon if they have a maitre d', if I don't say so myself. At 3, we have Mel Brooks as Rabbi Tuckman. At 2, we have Isaac Hayes as a sneeze. And at 1, we have, somewhat surprisingly to me, Dom DeLuise as Don Giovanni. I don't mind it. I mean, I think it comes down to the cotton ball gag. The cotton ball gag is, I think, what sold me on it, because that's a famous take on Marlon Brando, put cotton balls in his mouth to do the Don Corleone voice. So that's a pretty cool kind of, just whatever inside baseball reference.
I just like the change. I like the change of vibe it had when he was on screen. Like it almost,
yeah, because it was a Godfather parody all of a sudden for a minute, which worked way better, which I would have way rather seen than a Robin Hood parody if they were going to do like a mobster, like Mel Brooks.
It would have been nice to blend it together. That would have been kind of cool. That might dude. That might be a really good idea. Blend Robin Hood and mobsters.
And it's a shout out Mel Brooks. He was ahead on one thing. The mobsters are from Jersey. He does The Sopranos about 5 years before The Sopranos are The Sopranos. They even have a take on the Gabagoo.
And the one guy didn't even have a tongue, dude.
He just got to make some sounds.
Yeah, I just enjoyed the change of speed with that one, and I don't know, it just felt like we needed it,
And Isaac Hayes was basically perfectly, like, he just got like 5 lines that were all great.
Oh, man. He had the strength of feet, dude.
He did have the strength of feet and the sense to tell Robin to basically piss off. I mean, there's not really more of just a shrug off, be like, well, tide's going out.
Fuck out of here, man.
That's how they do it in the South, I think, maybe even in the south of England. Finally, the most important rankings, the main character rankings. We ranked 10 of these, and at the bottom, number 10, Will Scarlett O'Hara, basically with a bullet. Myself and Jamie G had them both at the bottom. Soup had them at 8. At 9, we have Broomhilde. 9, 9, 8. Again, as a group, not really high here. At 8, Marion. Surprisingly, none of us were high on Marion. 10, 8, 7. At number 7, we have Little John. Just didn't have a lot to do. At 6, we have the Sheriff of Rottingham. Maybe a little bit of a disappointment, but we had him 766, so fits right in there. At 5, Latrine. Jamie G, you had Latrine at 7. Why so low on Latrine? Like, you had Little John ahead of Latrine.
I thought Little John to me was actually kind of funny. I liked Latrine. Don't get me wrong. Tracy Ullman, she has a very unique style, though. You either love her or it's annoying. After the Tracy Ullman show, it was just kind of like, she was more annoying to me than anything else. She's great in this role, but I thought Little John had his moments, dude. Like, I liked the whole gag with the little creek.
I really did. Yeah, dude. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in on you there, but I really did like the first scene with the fighting over the water.
That's one of my favorite scenes. I'm not gonna lie.
And the stick keeps breaking and shit.
Smaller. And the creek is so small. Chappelle's just jumping over from side to side.
Exactly.
I'm on the East Bank. I'm on the West Bank. Like, and that's again an Israel reference, I think, because there was something that happened in Israel about this time, so that was a whole thing too. But that really worked because at the end, when they have the really little sticks, you remember playing pencil pop, like back in junior high? Yeah. That reminded me of that, because you'd have to have 2 pencils, and someone would have to hold one horizontal, the other one vertical, and they try to pull it back and snap it, and you had to break the other pencil to win. So
yeah, we've all played that, dude. And again, this is also a swoop on one of the major scenes in the Prince of Thieves movies as well.
Jamie with the drowning, especially when he just gets up at the end. Yeah, that's definitely right.
Yeah. And he had obviously the few moments where it's like coming out of the porta potties where it's like, man, you gotta be a real man to wear these. And then honestly, I thought it was funny when he tried to be the gentleman with the maid, and they just continued to go on how overweight she was. And he was like, it scared me because she fell on him or whatever. So I just, I don't know. I thought Little John ended up being like a much needed kind of character in the crew there. So for me, I rank him a little bit higher.
Right. I think that's a very valid point. At 4, we have Lincoln, which I think is fair. Jamie G, you have him at 1, but he's more of a running joke than a character. I think his whole character is he's blind. But I will point out the one Blinken scene we haven't mentioned is during that one fight scene where he just keeps chopping up that one post or whatever.
And he really goes at it. He shreds that thing, dude.
and when he grabs the arrow out of the air, and he's like, "Oh, I heard that coming a mile away." And then Chappelle's like, "Hey, Blinken," and he doesn't even hear it. Like some of the more subtle jokes
he didn't hear the whole fucking castle getting moved either at the beginning, man.
Yeah, it's just when he's on the shitter.
He thought I felt the draft.
Let that go because he was into the foreign.
Right,
I mean,
that's
you
what
don't
I,
need
yeah.
but still, they're
Well, I
supposed to
felt
have
the
the
draft.
extra senses, man. You know, but
Yeah, that's what you're right. It heightens all your senses. He's on a Daredevil thing here or whatever. At 3, we have Prince John. We all liked him. At 2, we have a Chew. And at 1, we have Robin himself. I think these are probably the top 3 most entertaining guys right outside of, again, Blake and Latrine, I think, get their gags, but they're not really characters as much. At least these 3, you get a little bit of a through arc, I guess a little bit, even though a Choose is basically at the end. He's just like, yeah, we're going to do Blazing Saddles again. People like that. That was still kind of
yes, I
funny.
love the Blazing Saddles reference in that one.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that they just broke the fourth wall a couple of times like that. So that was a good kind of fourth wall break at the end, I think. Do we miss any other minor characters? Again, I like the kind of the dungeon guys at the beginning, especially the one guy who's all excited that, like, oh, he's gonna tell him where he is, and he comes back in. He's like, oh, I'm so screwed when he comes back to the empty dungeon.
One of the best lines in the movie, and it's followed by a great spit, just huge spit chunk coming out, is he split Robin's arrow in twine. It's just, that's like a classic line in this movie and something you'll always remember. So shout out
That's
to
from the
him.
trailers, I think. I remember them doing the wave. I think the implication is with the whole Patriot Arrow thing, when the crowd do the thing, that they're inventing the wave or what have you. But yeah, some of that just didn't probably work as well as they were hoping it would, I guess.
Guys, I know we've been a bit all over the place here, but is there anything else you dudes want to talk about before we talk about a little sponges? Not a little sponge. We talk about sponges.
I guess I feel a little bad. We haven't said anything about Robert Reeves, the sheriff of Nottingham. He was fine. I think he was a little bit screwed here because he had to go up against what Alan Rickman did. And Alan Rickman already took that like way over the top and chewed the scenery in the regular movie. So how do you spoof that? You know what I mean?
He did
so
have
I think,
to look. Yeah,
he had to look. I mean, there's the ones, when he gets Robin puts him under the horse the first time they meet or whatever, and he has to kind of ride away there. He got some good kind of physical comedy beats, but for the most part, they kind of made him the punching bag and gave, Richard Lewis most of the best lines, I think. Because you don't have like Prince John in the Prince of Thieves movie like that. So
right.
I thought he did, kind of good with what he could do, but I thought he might have kind of got the short shrift a little bit here, maybe.
I think they could have done. Yeah, I think they could have done more with that character. But like what, the way he talks and shit, and just can't get shit together.
Yeah, super kind of smarmy, but incompetent and bad. Although I like the very end when he's like trying to get everyone towards the end of the movie to follow him, and he's like, he tells the knights or whatever, like, walk like this, and he starts like sashaying away, and all the knights sashay away. Again, the minor jokes here.
Yeah, walk this way.
Yeah, walk this way, and they all, like, he does it like a runway model, and then they all follow that. The minor stuff is good like that. Those are the hallmarks of a good Mel Brooks movie. Unfortunately, like, that's what lands. The main jokes don't land nearly as well as all the small stuff does.
Yeah, another thing we didn't mention is right at the very beginning of this movie, the initial like song with the they say it's like a rap song, but then it's all the the weird like Sherwood Forest shit. I think that was a really good mix and a really good way to get you into it right away.
Yeah, I like the words and the choreography, like the idea that they were kind of combining all of that, but the whole thing with the arrows and the other thing, like it was all set up to be like every time they make a Robin Hood movie, they burn down our village. Like it was like 4 minutes to get to that gag.
Yeah,
like that was just too slow. They needed something else, like bringing in like a Bond movie then or something. Like it just didn't look nearly as cool as I think because of the fire arrows. I felt like, oh, everyone will think this is cool because that was actually pretty cool for the early 90s. But watching it now, it's like, dude, these credits are taking forever, like, and nothing's happening.
Yeah, way too long. Way too long on that one. All right. Well, I guess that's it, man. In honor of Elaine Bennis, creator of the second greatest system of all time, we always determine if our featured review was sponge worthy.
So you think you're sponge-worthy?
Yes, I think I'm sponge-worthy. I think I'm very sponge-worthy.
You know you're nuts with these sponges.
Run down your case for me again.
She said I wasn't sponge-worthy. Wouldn't waste a sponge on me.
Mills, update us on the current sponge supply and tell us if you think Robin Hood Men in Tights is in fact sponge-worthy.
Jamie G, right now in this cycle, you and I each have 3 sponges left. The Soup Deucer has 2. I am up first here, and I have to report this one's not going to be sponge-worthy for me. It wasn't bad. I don't hate it. It's just not sponge-worthy. Not everything can be sponge-worthy, unfortunately, and it doesn't quite get to that level. I'm not going to invite it back. It is what it is. So, no to the sponge for me. Jamie G, how about yourself?
Yeah, Mills, this is going to be a hard no for me, dog. Definitely
hard
not
no, hard no,
sponge-worthy.
he says.
Yeah, it just, I don't, I chuckled once or twice. Like, it just didn't do what I thought it was. And honestly, I was disappointed. I thought it was a lot better remembering it from my youths when I was a lot younger. So didn't get there for me. Not very, I'll never watch it again. Definitely not sponge-worthy.
Gun to your Special Agent Johnson, would you prefer to, if you had to watch one of them again, this or Roger Rabbit?
Roger Rabbit.
Just checking because we've watched that one before. Soup, how about yourself?
But,
Is this
if,
one
but if
with
it
the
was
sponge?
between this and Coming to America, it would be this again.
Well, that goes without saying.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, all right. So, the thing with this movie, man, is like, on a day, like coming home after the bar or something, I might raw dog this movie or something, but overall, I'm not gonna I'm just gonna say no, not sponge-worthy, but
Right, yeah, you might do what you have to do, but if there's a limited supply of sponges,
right.
you don't know if you can spare a
Sponges,
sponge.
I'm not gonna, yeah, I mean,
It's like
so
spare
I'm
a square.
I have to go with a no, and I think this is the first time ever we all three went no sponge, dude.
Yeah, and I feel bad. It's not
And that
bad,
sucks
but
because this movie isn't that
part
bad.
of the problem
You
is
know?
the blandness of it, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't stand out for one reason or another. I almost wish at least like if we did Dracula Dead and Loving It, I feel it's so bad that we could find more to talk about, kind of.
I almost
You
need
know,
to
it's like,
watch it
oh,
again, like just to make
Yeah,
sure.
here all the actors are doing good work. It looks decent. The score is decent. It just not that funny. They just picked the wrong jokes, I think.
Yeah. Now there is some things that carry with you from Men in Tights, and maybe it's just because I watched it so much when I was younger that I'll remember that, and I don't know if it's super quote worthy, but there's some things that fall into play. So I wouldn't say it's completely. It's not unfuckable, I mean, but like
No,
I said,
I mean, I'd say it's there with Hot Shots 2 probably in my head or something. It's not bad or something. I remember a couple of things from it. Definitely like the Men in Tights, the little bit of Dave Chappelle and them dancing and the blinking gags. Like it's fine.
yeah. So that's where I'm at. Yeah, but shit, man, all three no sponge, dude.
No sponge for you.
Oh, we save our sponge.
We're gonna finish up Men in Tights by handing out our grades. We're grading this on a scale of 0 to 100 Men in Tights, tights. So break out your Sharpie and give this bad boy a grade.
64, whatever they are. What are
Men
they?
in Tights.
64 Men in Tights.
Jamie G, how about yourself?
Now wait a minute. Now hold on. A pair of tights has 2 legs, so I was
They
talking
come in one egg. The tights come in one egg. So
1 egg of tights. All right, 64 eggs of tights.
Yeah, that's probably about right. I'm gonna go a little bit lower. I'm gonna go 59 Men in Tights.
59 Men in Tights. Honestly, I'm in the same vicinity as y'all, but just to make it a better gag, 69, dude. Why not? One more pun, one more gag for the movie. 69 Men in Tights. Manly Men in
Solid.
Tights.
I mean,
I
how
liked
else?
it. It's a passing. 69 is like that's a D. That's like a hard D, right?
Yeah, well, is it how hard of it?
I don't know if it's a hard D or a soft D.
She
It's
said it
kind
was
of
a hard
a-
D, dude. She said it was a super
I
hard
feel
D.
like a 76 or a 77 is a hard C. So take from that what you will.
Well, before we figure out what we're watching next time, we need to replenish the sponge supply with another edition of the Questions 3.
Who would cross the bridge of death must answer me these questions 3.
3 questions. What if you get a question wrong? Then you are cast into the gorge of eternal peril.
Ask me the questions. I am not afraid.
And we shall watch and pray.
Mills, take it away.
All right, this is the questions 3, and here's the deal. Jamie G and the Soup Deucer are each going to have to answer 3 random questions. You get 1 point for a right answer. The most points win. If there's a tie, we have a couple bonus questions. If it's still tied after that, we flip a coin. Winner of this gets a half a sponge, and I get a half a sponge for writing the questions. I believe Jamie G has reserved the right to write this next week. But for right now, gentlemen, if you wish to cross the bridge of death and end the episode, you must answer me these questions 3. Soup Deucer, let me ask you, in what movie did Richard Lewis co-star with John Candy?
Is it Once Upon a Crime? No, shit.
He says,
Damn.
Once Upon a Crime. Soup, question 2. In Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, how many pellets of mescaline do they start out with?
75.
He says 75. Soup, question 3. In Fish's Game Henge, what is the name of Jimmy's cat?
Poster Nutbag.
Poster Nutbag. That sounds fake, but apparently fish fans are on a thing. And Jamie G, here are your 3 questions. Question 1. In which classic NBC sitcom was Roger Reese a regular guest star?
I'm going Cheers.
He says Cheers.
50-50 on that, but I'm going Cheers.
Question 2. What song did Fish perform live on television New Year's 2000?
Oh. I'm gonna say. I'm doing something weird. I'm gonna say like Old Home Place.
Old Home Place, he says. Jamie G, question 3. In which HBO series did Tim Roth guest star?
I'm gonna, dude, I don't know. I'm gonna go ahead and say, Oz.
He says Oz.
Damn it.
All right, it is time to break it down.
Hey, dude, real quick before you break it down, and this doesn't, but I know I got the first question wrong. I know it's Wagons East and not Once Upon a Crime. I still get it wrong. That's fine, but carry on. I just wanted to get it out there, man. I knew the answer, but I fucking spit out the wrong one that ate me up the whole.
As the Soup Deucer may or may not have alluded to, Soup Deucer, question 1, the correct answer was Wagons East, so you do not get that one. Jamie G, you took a wild stab of it, and you got there with Cheers. Yeah, he was wrong. That was the rich dude who was Christy Alley's boyfriend, remember? So
Yes.
that's where that one won. Soup Deucer, and it was absolutely 75 pellets of mescaline. You were Thundergun on that. No surrender, no hesitation. And Jamie G, you went Old Home Place. I'm sorry to say it was Heavy Things. That was what they played live on TV, New Year's 2000. Soup Deucer, you are correct. Poster Nutbag is the name of Jimmy's cat. And Jamie G, it was not Oz, it was Tales from the Crypt. That was the show that Tim Roth guest starred in on HBO. So that's 2-1, Soup Deucer.
Shit.
No extra one not needed. He takes home the half a sponge. Soup, you get a hot second for a victory speech or whatever, or just just bask in the glory of your whatnot.
I'm just gonna go ahead and bask in the glory and love that I got 2 fish questions correct, but I'm a little bit bummed out because I knew the answer to the first one and I just blurted out the other one because I'm like halfway delirious right now. Either way, I have no excuses. I got it fucking wrong, so I was wrong about that. But hey, I still won the day, and
you got the moral victory of the after the fact. You did nail Wagons East, which is I haven't seen Wagons East since it was on VHS. It's been a minute for me. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, it's been a long time for me too. But yeah. Anyway, man, these questions, dude, great questions. I can't wait to get into some more of these, man. And
yeah, I want to do like more John Candy. I think doing more John Candy would be cool.
We need to do more John Candy, dude. I'm down. Yeah, let's pay a little more attention to John Candy, dude. I'm in. I can give you that. Sure.
all the ins there for me as well. And Soup, congrats on that victory. Disappointed I didn't get it, but to the victor, to the spoils.
We're trying to get to a movie.
You better get going. You don't want to miss 1 second of that movie.
Is it that good?
It's the best goddamn movie I've ever seen in my life.
Oh.
Dude hangs dumb.
I told you!
I don't want to miss that!
Now it's time to decide what we're going to watch next time. Right here on Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. We all talked about it. And you know what? We think it's time to finally do Spaceballs.
Hey, John Candy.
Yeah, I think we're going to take Easter off. We'll be back for that one. Dudes, what about Spaceballs are you most excited about?
I mean, aside from everything,
Harsh. I'm a log.
Front to back, Spaceballs is hands down just awesome.
See, that's perfect. Pete Mel Brooks, gags in every frame, talking gags, music gags, visual, like everything. Spaceballs is so good.
Spaceballs is my favorite Mel Brooks movie. Blazing Saddles will probably be a close second to that.
Blazing Saddles is a better movie, maybe, or a more important movie, but Spaceballs I enjoy watching.
Yeah. I've been wanting to get us together to talk about this one, and I'm ready for a revisit on the movie too. So I'm looking forward to watching it again. I can never really get sick of it. So yeah, looking forward to the rewatch and looking forward to talking to you guys about it, man.
Yeah, even if they capture our stunt doubles, we'll be cool with it.
Yeah.
This is just such a Spaceballs has so many incredible one-liners, quotes. The cast is fantastic. I'm really, really excited about this one. I love Spaceballs, and I think it's everything you want Robin Hood Men in Tights to be times 1,000.
Yeah, like literally down to here, they do the, look in the script gag. That's just the VHS, like, gag from Spaceballs, but a lesser version of it, kind of.
When will then be now?
Soon!
All right. So
man.
We're gonna go over the bleeps, the sweeps, and the creeps, man. And we're going to do Spaceball.
We're going to comb the desert for her, man. We're going to comb the desert.
We're going to be jammed.
We're jamming it. We're combing it. We're
raspberry jamming it. I mean, even if you hate it or not, man.
I can't wait.
Good one.
Yogurt.
May the Schwartz be with you, and have a great Easter if you celebrate. Thank you guys for checking out Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. We're just regular dudes watching stuff and talking about it. We hope you enjoyed it. We'd love to hear any thoughts or feedback you might have. Mills, remind everybody where they can find us.
Thank you, sir. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts, on the YouTube. We are on social media at Dudes Watch Stuff. Find us on the interwebs at dudeswatchstuff.com. Pretty easy to remember, just like the flaps. Follow, like, and please subscribe. You remember Cary Elwes is, he's also in Hot Shots. They're flying there, high above the sky, flying like a bird, flapping those limbs. It's all we ask. If you had fun, please hit the thumb. Thanks again for checking us out. You're great.
Well, thanks again for checking out Regular Dudes Watch Stuff, and we're just dudes, being dudes, talking about the dude.
And the dudes abide, and...
I mean, these are hard to get on. Let's face it, you gotta be a man to wear tights. Will, how many seams?
Perfect.
Every time.
We're men in tights. We roam around the forest looking for fights. We're men in tights. We run from the rich and give to the poor, that's right.